Download Whiskey Hell Podcast. We call attention to the mainstream media narratives weekly in hopes that you'll have fun with how ridiculous the news really is. We don't want to change your mind. We just want to give you perspective so that you can choose more wisely and be more aware. Couple that with great craft beer, hilarious stories, deep thoughts, and real conversations. We know you're going to enjoy it. Download Whiskey Hell Podcast anywhere you find outstanding shows.
You are listening to a Fonz Media Network production.
Take my eyes open to force reality. Why can't you just let me eat my weight in glee? Hush.
Hello, World Ablaze listeners. You know, I realized I've done a few episodes, and I don't think I've had a beer with y'all in a while. So, today being the day where it happens to be hot, where I'm recording, roughly around 106 today. Oh, and with that being said, I have the air conditioner in good old Studio A going. Unfortunately, it's having a bit of issues and is a little loud, so you might hear some noise when I'm talking, a little bit of like, I don't know, rattling or whatnot. So that's what that is. So please excuse that. We'll get through it, power through this. I plan on changing that air conditioner out a little bit down the road here. But for now, I think we can get through it. Also, show has seen tremendous growth, lots of support. We've seen the numbers grow. On Apple, we've seen them on Spotify, we've seen them grow everywhere. Overcast, everywhere you listen to podcasts, we've seen an increase in downloads. So I want to thank everybody for that. And I also want to thank, those who were with us from the beginning. Iceland, I'm talking to you. Didn't forget about you. And, this has been great. And while I do appreciate it, please, I remember this. We're part of the Fonz Media Network, and there's other shows on this network, and I'd like you to check them out, such as the Stretch Goose podcast, which is my brother's solo show, where he does a really good job of doing news stories. And what's really cool is sometimes he just finds these news stories where you normally wouldn't hear about, and he gives his opinions on those, and he does a little bit of political commentary here and there, but it's a great podcast. It's kind of a daily, gets to the point, really cool, and his rants are, let's just be honest, they're legendary. So I think you'd enjoy that. And of course, we have the other one where we're together, Random Thoughts with Manuel and George. My brother also just released another one, which is awesome. First episode's out already, so please check out The History of, and of course there's a bunch of dots behind it, and that one's really cool. Just released his first episode, which is The History of the Pencil. I listened to it. It's actually pretty interesting, and I think that a lot of people are going to enjoy that. And hey, my friend out there, the Jesse Rosinsky Show, not part of our network, but I support my brothers out there in independent political commentary and podcasting. So do yourself a favor and listen to Jesse Rosinsky. Now, with all the thanks and pleases and everything out of the way, I need to raise a big can of beer to everybody. Again, it's 106. This is much needed. So I'm not doing anything too heavy. I'm going to drink an 805 here. Got a tall can. Let me go ahead and open that bad boy. It's a beautiful sound. And as I say, for all those who are working, not working, don't want to go to work, maybe you're getting off work, regardless, you deserve one of these. So cheers to everybody. I'm going to take a sip. Oh, yeah. Honestly, that's refreshing. And again, thanks to everybody. Cheers. Now, moving on. Let's get to it. What's the big thing going on right now? Kamala Harris has chosen a running mate. Tim Walz, governor of Minnesota. Interesting pick. Crazy if you think about it, because they were just recently turning the whole he's too old argument against the Republican Party. Kamala was, the Democratic Party in general. And I'm looking at this guy, and he's claiming to be 60. This man does not look 60. He looks older. But I'm not going to beat him up for looking a certain age. I'm not. But I do want to play a clip because he came out swinging, and I will admit this. The Harris campaign needed an injection. They needed someone who is exciting, someone who can actually talk and put sentences together, something that Harris can't do. And this isn't me swaying you away from Harris to Trump or whatever. It's just fact. It's true. So I'm going to play this clip because I will admit I'm not voting Democrat whatsoever. I'm not going through another 4 years of this bullshit, but I got to give credit where credit is due. Take a listen to this opening. This is his speech, first speech out there to voters, potential voters, on the campaign trail with Kamala Harris.
J.D. Vance literally wrote the foreword for the architect of the Project 2025 agenda. Like all regular people I grew up with in the heartland, J.D. studied at Yale, had his career funded by Silicon Valley billionaires, and then wrote a bestseller trashing that community. Come on. That's not what middle America is. And I got to tell you, I can't wait to debate the guy. That is, if he's willing to get off the couch and show up. So.
All right. You got to admit that's funny. I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat. You got to admit that's funny. Now, the couch reference is referring to what they're trying to make stick to J.D. Vance. Y'all know his explicit show, so I'm just going to say it. They're accusing him of fucking couches, basically. Just getting down on all fours and sticking his fucking dick in between couch cushions and just ramming them. Reality, though, is that was something that was written in the book that Tim Walz also referenced that became famous, and there was a movie made out of it. So it's fictional, but still, hey, Tim Walz, congratulations. That was great. You got to admit, engaging, to the point. It was funny. And he has a bit of energy to him, something that Kamala Harris does not have. So I'll give it to him. But who the fuck is Tim Walz? Like, who's Tim Walz? Do we want to get into that part of it? Because outside of being the governor of Minnesota, what do we really know about him? Now, he's come under fire as he is trying to take credit and has ran many times on his military career. But some people have some question about that. Actually, quite a few people have some questions about that. Here's Representative Mike Waltz, who has some questions.
Hey, a lot of discussion out there in the veterans community about Governor Tim Walz's military record, and I think it boils down to two issues. One is the fact that he's described himself over his political career as a sergeant major, as the highest enlisted rank in the Army. He was promoted to sergeant major, but then in order to stay in that rank, you have to complete certain training. You have to complete the Sergeant Major's Academy, which he never did. So he was subsequently demoted to Master Sergeant before he retired. A lot of questions there on how he should be describing himself. And I think those are fair to ask, and he should answer them. And then the bigger issue is walking away from his soldiers after they had been called to go to Iraq. I commanded Green Berets. Everything that you do prepares you for that moment when you have to lead your men and women into harm's way. It's kind of like the quarterback of a big team walking away from their team right before they go to the Super Bowl. I've never heard anything like it, especially the fact that he was a command sergeant major. I've never heard of a commander or a sergeant major stepping away from their unit before they go down range. The media needs to do their job and ask these tough questions, and Walz needs to answer them. The veterans community, for one, is demanding an explanation of why he didn't fulfill his duty as a command sergeant major and go into harm's way with the men and women he was leading.
Well, I would have to agree. Questions do need to be answered in regards to his service. And I did try to look into this, and what I found is the media is already spinning this and already trying to cover this up. In fact, Bloomberg was caught making a correction on something where, they claimed, oh, he went to Iraq and served, and then later they switched it with an update where it shows, oh, he was deployed to Italy on a different mission. All right. And then also very interesting to me is when I was doing a search online, just a random search, his Wikipedia page pops up, but it said it was edited within the last 5 minutes. So they're already on top of trying to correct things on Wikipedia as well. But there's been some interviews, there's been some press release that go back to 2018, by the way, not just now, where his military record has been in question. So I'm going to read another article. This was actually released in 2022, by the way. So September 26, 2022. This isn't 2024. This isn't someone just lashing out against a VP candidate who just hates the Democratic Party. This was written 2 years ago. I got this from Alpha News, and I believe Alpha News does a lot of stuff related to military and are tied to that in some way. Now, I may be wrong. You can correct me, but from what I recall, that's pretty much what they do. The article is titled, Third Command Sergeant Major Corroborates Story of Walz Dodging Deployment. Interesting. So from 2022. Why should we be quiet? He uses the military to promote himself when he abandoned his soldiers, said Doug Julin, a retired command sergeant major. Now, I'm going to go through this article a bit, so please hang with me. I think it's important for people to hear. Okay, reading on. A third retired command sergeant major is speaking out against Governor Tim Walz, saying he lets his soldiers down by avoiding a deployment to Iraq in 2005 before running for Congress. Doug Julin worked his way up to Division Command Sergeant Major, or CSM, before he retired from the Minnesota National Guard in 2012 after serving 35 years. So this guy's been in it, he's seen it, and he also knows who Walz is. In fact, he's had interactions with Walz. He goes on to say that this was a backdoor deal by not going on the mission. Julin is the third retired CSM to speak with Alpha News this month, so this month when this article came out, about a story that all three say deserves more attention. Republican gubernatorial candidate Dr. Scott Jensen called a press conference Thursday to draw attention to the story. He was joined by retired Command Sergeant Major Tom Behrens. I hope I said that right. That's spelled Behrends. I don't mean any disrespect there. So he ended up replacing Walz on the deployment. So this guy has firsthand knowledge that Walz backed out. Now, Jensen goes on to say, in my eyes, today is the day that Tim Walz is indicted for lack of leadership and an unwillingness to do his duty. Governor Walz responded a short time later while he attended a dedication of a new Medal of Honor memorial on the Capitol grounds. He says, I don't know if Tom just disagrees with my politics or whatever, but my record speaks for itself and my accomplishments in uniform speak for itself. And there's many people in this crowd too that I serve with. It's just unfortunate. Julin said a group of senior leaders met in early 2005 to get on the same page about the deployment. He said 6 battalions in total were going on the Iraq mission and 4 were from Minnesota. Julin recalled that Walz was at this meeting because he had just been conditionally promoted to the rank of Command Sergeant Major of the 1st Battalion, 125th Field Artillery. According to Julin, he would be going on the deployment. And he's referring to Walz. He's saying Walz would be going on the deployment. A short time later, Walz was talking about running for Congress, but again said he would be going on the deployment. And this is, of course, according to Julin. I'm going to forward, Julin recalls Walz saying. Then out of nowhere in June of 2005, Tom Behrens is there as the new CSM. Julin said he was most upset with how it was handled because Walz didn't come to him as Brigade Command Sergeant Major, the position he held at the time. He went around my authority to get out of the position. I probably would have told him, no, you're going on deployment, Julian said. At that point in time, my focus wasn't on Tim Walz walking out the door. My focus was on all the enlisted. I had to make sure all the soldiers had their head on straight, their health and welfare were at the forefront, and we had to make sure they had everything they needed to do their jobs. He said, however, that Walz pulling out set a tone. Soldiers are thinking, what does he know that I don't know? That's the kind of message it sends. I don't know anybody that wanted to go to war then, but we went because we were tasked to do it. Julian said he spoke with Walz directly in 2018 after Barron's sent a letter to the media about Walz's military record. He said he expressed his frustration and concerns to Walz, who said he appreciated Julian talking to him about it, but that was about it. Julian told Alpha News he doesn't really take issue with Walz using the CSM title after not completing all of the requirements to earn the rank. What matters to him most is how he walked away from his troops. So there you have it. Firsthand knowledge of Walz's record. And there's a lot more to this article. And there's more elsewhere. I'm not going to dive too much deeper, but just by scratching the surface, you've had people who come forward, and this was back in 2022. This was also taken up and debated in 2018. This isn't the first time that Walz's claim of his military record has been challenged. Now, nobody's saying he didn't serve. No one's saying that he didn't serve well, but the way that he dodged a war, a major war, and let down his soldiers, the people he was supposed to lead into battle and take responsibility for, he shirked that. He abandoned his responsibilities and he walked away. This starts to set the tone for his character and what we're going to get as a potential leader of the United States, because as VP, if need be, God forbid something happened to the president and this person is in office, then he would have to step up to the plate. Now, we've already seen the disaster that Biden has given us in how he handles foreign policies and being behind these proxy wars. We don't need any more of that. Now, I get it. The idea of war is scary. Nobody wants to die. Nobody potentially wants to die. But unfortunately, if you put that uniform on and you commit to serving your country, that is what's expected. Just as any civilian would be expected to do so if we are attacked and a foreign nation invades our country. But aside from that, which is major, and I get the fear aspect of not going to war, but aside from just backing out and shirking your responsibilities of leadership, what about what he did in office in Minnesota? Let's talk about that. Michael Schellenberger, I got this from his X account. He posted a video that addresses a few things that Tim Walz did. And I think it's important we hear this as well.
3 major controversies threaten Walz's image as a moderate. First, Walz waited 3 days before asking for the deployment of the National Guard after Black Lives Matter protests turned into fiery riots, which destroyed hundreds of businesses in Minneapolis. 2, Walz created a snitch line through which thousands of Minnesotans reported their neighbors, co-workers, and police officers to the government for things like not wearing masks while outdoors during COVID. And 3, Walz doubled down last year on letting doctors and surgeons give drugs to and operate on children and adolescents who are confused about their gender at a time when Britain and much of the rest of Europe is banning them.
So there's a little bit to unpack there. Firstly, when the riots were going on, the BLM riots during the times of COVID we all lived through, at least in Minnesota, a lot was sparked by George Floyd's death. But it wasn't just about that. It grew in turn into way more than standing up to police brutality. It became a time where people became opportunistic. And the riots were unchecked, and they were scary, and they were burning down entire cities. with disregard for who you were, black, white, brown, it didn't matter. It got to the point where it was just about looting, pillaging, and destroying. And that's what happened. Walz refused. He waited 3 days. There's a lot of damage that can be done in 3 days, and there was a lot of damage done in 3 days. Waited 3 days before taking any action. But what catches my attention is a level that this guy went to turn citizens against each other by creating a snitch line for those who are not in line with the then COVID policy of staying indoors, wearing a mask at all times everywhere you go, even if you're outside. I still don't understand that one, but okay. So there's the issue. In fact, if you don't believe me, this recording was from June 3rd of 2022. Somebody actually recorded the message of the hotline that Tim Walz had set up in the state of Minnesota so that people can snitch on other people. And you know what's crazy about this? This is very similar to what happened in communist Russia. Very similar. I'm just going to leave that there. But listen to this. Listen to this recording.
Hello, you have reached the Department of Public Safety stay-at-home hotline. The information you leave is considered public information. At the tone, please leave the following information: your name, your callback number, how the stay-at-home order is being violated, and where the stay-at-home order was violated. Thank you.
Record your message at the tone. When you are finished, hang up or press pound for more options.
Are you serious? A snitch line? A snitch line. Where was the stay-at-home order violated? When was it violated? Leave whatever detailed information you have with a callback number so that we could send the Stasi after you to go apprehend the person who is not wearing a fucking mask. Which is crazy because currently in 2024, we found out from good old dictator-in-chief in the medical field, Fauci, and other scientific evidence, because everyone says to follow the science, that the masks never fucking worked. And if they never worked, what were they for? A social experiment to see if you'd comply. And here we have a recording of a message on an answering service where you can leave a message to snitch on your fellow citizens. Nazi Germany and communist Russia come to mind. And so does George Orwell's 1984. This was Tim Walz. This was Tim Walz. Hell, this is Tim Walz. But I guess this all aligns with Kamala Harris's campaign. I'm going to play something that Kamala Harris said or responded to. She responded to a question that was asked on The View. And of course, in typical Kamala Harris fashion, she doesn't really say anything. She just dances around, doesn't answer the question, but it's important for you to hear what she thinks the campaign is really all about.
Voters want to hear about issues affecting their lives, like the economy and the border. Should the campaign be pivoting on its messaging?
So there's no doubt that one of the first issues that anyone will think of is the issue they think of when they're at their kitchen table trying to pay their bills, which is how is the economy treating them? So there's no question whatsoever that that is an important issue, which we have been in the process of addressing, and we still need to do more. I would not separate that from the issue of what is at stake in terms of hard democracy. And frankly, I think most people don't think of it in the context of democracy as much as freedom. The freedom of a woman to make decisions about her own body. The freedom to love who you love openly and with pride. The freedom to be able to be free from gun violence. These are fundamental freedoms that are at stake right now. The freedom to have access to the ballot.
Okay. So she's asked, why don't you refocus your campaign on what the people care about, the issues that they are concerned with? And Kamala Harris thinks it's about a woman's right to do what she wants with her body, which is valid. But I'm going to get to that in a minute because this is going to tie into where I'm going to go in explaining Walz's character. So, but what about the freedom to love who you want to love? Something happened. There was a bill that was signed and passed in the state of Minnesota. It was a revision, HF number 1655. And I'm going to read what this bill was about. It is a bill for an act relating to human rights, removing certain sections in the Human Rights Act that allow for, okay, very important, allow for discrimination based on sexual orientation, amending Minnesota Statutes 2022 sections 363A.03, and there's a few other things there, but you get the point. So what were the amendments? What needed to be done to this bill? Well, so further down the bill, this is where you can find what they were trying to take out of it so they could amend it. It reads that, in regard to sexual orientation, by the way, it says sexual orientation. So sexual orientation means having or being perceived as having an emotional, physical, or sexual attachment to another person without regard to the sex of that person, or having or being perceived as having an orientation for such attachment. Okay. But this is what they cross out. See, this is what they thought needed to be amended. So what they wanted to amend, this is the part that was crossed out. So I'm going to read the crossed out part. Or having or being perceived as having a self-image or identity not traditionally associated with one's biological maleness or femaleness. Now, this is where it gets weird to use their terms, right? Sexual orientation does not include a physical or sexual attachment to children by an adult. So in the bill, it's excluding pedophiles. It's saying you can't use your attraction or the fact that you're a pedophile as a way of protecting yourself under this revision of the bill for sexual orientation. The revision, they crossed this out. Now, this went through quite a few times to be considered and reviewed, and guess what? It fucking passed. They removed and excluded that wording. They took out the whole idea of pedophilia not being accepted under this protection. Furthermore, this bill was also tied to the Take Pride Act that went into effect August 1st, 2023 in Minnesota. I'm going to read what that's about. It says that the Take Pride Act helps clarify critical protections for LGBTQIA+ Minnesotans while also removing, very important, listen to this, removing outdated and prejudicial language from the Minnesota Human Rights Act. Beginning August 1st, 2023, the state's civil rights law will better reflect the Minnesota's diverse and thriving LGBTQIA+ communities. Okay, hold on. So let's break this down. Removing outdated and prejudicial language. The only thing that they omitted was where they said it's not okay to be protected under this act by claiming a sexual orientation because you're a pedophile. Nobody should agree that pedophilia is a good thing. I'm sorry, this is graphic, but claiming you love and you want to fuck kids is not okay. So how is that an outdated, prejudicial language? And furthermore, it goes on to say that the state's civil rights law will better reflect Minnesota's diverse and thriving LGBTQIA+ communities. How does this reflect that community? Are you saying that pedophilia is roped into LGBTQIA+? I'm sure there are members of that community that do not agree with earmuffs, people, if you have kids, fucking little children. I'm sorry, pedophilia is not okay. It's never okay. But this passed. You're protected under the Take Pride Act and under the Minnesota Human Rights Act because it has been amended to exclude the language which clearly defines that you cannot claim protection under your sexual orientation if you love kids. Like, is this for fucking real? Is this for real? I mean, is this the world we live in? This is your VP candidate running with Kamala Harris. I mean, serious? But let's keep going. So let me address the other part that Kamala Harris said when I played that clip earlier. You know, a woman's choice to healthcare. Now, I'm getting really tired of that being thrown around because a woman's choice to healthcare is not under attack. I don't know any doctor that will deny a woman from healthcare. And I'm tired of the wordplay. Just say what you mean. You mean a woman's right to an abortion? Because that's really what you're saying. Now, abortions have their place within a certain time period under, in my opinion, certain circumstances. And it does become a healthcare issue if there is a threat to life, but that should be determined by the doctor. So, I'm not going to go too much more into that because everyone has their own opinion on it, but I do want to point out that there's something else that Tim Walz signed and made happen. Now, remember when everybody was making fun of Trump and trying to say he was an idiot when they asked him about abortion, and he said how Democrats stand for killing babies? He said there's states that don't have a term on when you could terminate a child. Remember that? Everybody said, oh, Trump, you're a fucking idiot. What are you talking about? Okay. I'm going to prove that he was right. Abortionfinder.org. This organization exists just to find states where you can legally have an abortion. It'll break down up to how far in your term you can have an abortion, if it's covered by, medical assistance, everything. So I went to the site and I brought up Minnesota. And here's what it reads. If you're in Minnesota and need an abortion, it says right here, abortion is legal throughout pregnancy in Minnesota. There is no ban or limit on abortion in Minnesota based on how far along in pregnancy you are. You want to read that again? I mean, am I taking this wrong? Did I read these words wrong? Because I remember Trump saying when he responded, oh, you believe in killing babies regardless of how far along they are in term. They called him crazy. Ha, 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 whatever. Really? Okay, maybe we all missed that. In Minnesota, there is no ban or limit on abortion in Minnesota based on how far along the pregnancy you are. The other thing they do is if you're younger than 18, you don't have to get any kind of consent from a parent or legal guardian. You could be 12, 14, walk in and just decide. Now, we can debate whether or not if you're at 12 or 14 that it's valid, but regardless of the validity, the parent should still be freaking contacted, man. I mean, come on. But let me go back and read it again. Okay, one more time. There's no ban or limit on abortion in Minnesota based on how far along in pregnancy you are. So is this the women's right to health care that they keep talking about? Because so far, women's rights for health care are not being banned or taken away. It's just the abortion part that they keep trying to cover up by calling it health care. I was doing big air quotes there, guys. Okay, so this is one source. You're like, that's just one source, but it's literally abortionfinder.org. So if you're interested in having an abortion, not that I really support an abortion in all cases, but go ahead go to that site, and this is a good thing for you to use if you want to fact check what I'm saying. But let's go to another source. What is this? Oh, states.gutmoksher.org. I think I said that correctly. But this is a site that checks states' policies, and in this case, the abortion policy. Minnesota says abortion policies in Minnesota are ranked as very protective. States have constructed a web of abortion laws and regulations that restrict or support whether, when, and under the circumstances providers can offer abortion care and a pregnant individual can obtain an abortion. While a state's abortion policies affect all people seeking care, they are particularly significant for individuals who find it difficult or outright impossible to access care when forced to navigate around abortion bans and restrictions. This includes people already facing barriers due to factors like their race, income, age, or gender identity. Okay, it says abortion policies currently in effect in Minnesota include the following. Abortion is not restricted based on gestational duration. Damn. So was Trump wrong? Maybe I fucked that up. Hold on. Let me read that again. Abortion is not restricted based on gestational duration. No, I think I got that correctly. I read it just as it was written. Yeah. Okay. So there's that. I also read the same thing from Abortion Finder, but just for kicks, how about Wikipedia? A lot of people use Wikipedia as a source because it's always updated by individuals and organizations that try to keep things truthful. Basically, it's the online encyclopedia. Whether you believe it or not, regardless, here's another source. From Wikipedia, the free encyclopedia. Abortion in Minnesota. Let me read the first line here. Abortion in Minnesota is legal at all stages of pregnancy, of all stages. I'm sorry, that's 3 for 3 on sources here that all reference the state of Minnesota as their source. So was Trump wrong? Or do Democrats believe in killing babies? I know, that's a hard one, right? It's like me saying that every Democrat out there wants to kill a baby. I don't believe that. People don't want to kill babies. I know that. But how about the Democratic Party and the government? I mean, this is crazy. No limit at any stage of pregnancy? Any stage? Was Trump crazy? Was he making it up? I mean, I found the evidence. Interesting. Now, listen, I'm not going to make this about Trump. I just wanted to bring that up because I remember when they were saying, oh, he's a crazy idiot, a buffoon. How could he say that? And yet here we go. Tim Walz signed the order. He put it into law. You can abort a baby regardless of how far along you are. It doesn't matter. Open arms. Come one, come all. Come everybody. Now, Governor Tim Walz, and now he's vice presidential nominee, has gotten credit for his military service, which, parts of were definitely in question. He definitely aligns with Kamala Harris's policies, which I'm not sure what they are still. She hasn't really said anything. She just kind of sidesteps it all. Every time she's asked a direct question, she won't give an answer because she thinks everything's based on, a woman's right to choose and love freely who you want to love, even if you're a pedophile. But anyway, so aside from what I just told you, aside from that, he's a teacher, and damn it, he loves and cares for kids. And I'm not saying he doesn't. So I'm going to put something out there. I don't necessarily want to get in trouble for it, but at the same time, he signed an executive order in regard to gender-affirming care in 2023, okay? Now, transitioning, choosing your sex, who you think you are, I'm not going to say you can't, but I have a problem and a big issue, and most all Americans have an issue with pushing this idea down the throats of children, period. That being said, in March of 2023, Walz signed an executive order that directed Minnesota agencies to do whatever they could to protect and support Minnesotans seeking gender-affirming health care services. Gender-affirming care is evidence-based care to people who identify as transgender or non-binary. It's been deemed medically necessary and has the backing of nearly every major medical association and the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Walz's executive order directed state agencies to study the effectiveness of the care and investigate any health organization that denied it. The order also prohibited Minnesota from cooperating in any investigation by a state that aimed to penalize such care, calling such actions a grave threat to health of members of the LGBTQ plus community. Okay, fine. Now, if you're an adult and you need the care, great. But the problem here is this extends to kids and students. And no, I'm not stretching or making this up. Now I'm going to correct CNN here where it says that it's been deemed medically necessary. Because I want to remind everyone, there was a viral video out of a person. See, the American College of Pediatricians put out a statement where they called out major medical associations by name for trying to push this gender idea, this gender transition idea on kids. And they don't think it's medically necessary. In fact, they advise that this is a really bad idea.
And we have serious concerns about the physical and mental health effects of the current protocols promoted for the care of children and adolescents in the United States who express discomfort with their biological sex. This declaration was authored by the American College of Pediatricians, but really it was developed from the expertise of hundreds of doctors, researchers, and other healthcare workers and leaders who, for years, have been sounding the alarm on the harmful protocols that continue to be promoted by the medical organizations in the United States. Despite recent revelations from the leaked WPATH files and the recent release of the final report from the CAS review, these medical organizations have not changed course. So we are calling on these medical organizations of the United States, including the American Academy of Pediatrics, the Endocrine Society, the Pediatric Endocrine Society, the American Medical Association, the American Psychological Association, and the American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry to follow the science and their European colleagues and immediately stop the promotion of social affirmation, puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, and surgeries for children and adolescents who experience distress over their biological sex.
And there you have it. Listen to the science, right? That was what the Democratic Party was pushing down everyone's throats when it came to wearing the face diapers that, oh yeah, they didn't work. They didn't fucking work. The science didn't work because it was bullshit. Your trans agenda is bullshit. If you're an adult and you want to transition, fine. Fine. I'm not going to stop you. I don't think anybody should if that's who you really believe you are and you want to be. But let's not extend it to kids and adolescents. I hope this summed up Tim Walz a bit for you. And believe me, there is a lot more that I could dig into. But for the sake of keeping the episode kind of short compared to what I have done before, I think that there's enough food for thought here. And if you don't believe anything I'm saying, you are welcome to do your own research. You're welcome to correct me. You're welcome to call me out. I'm fine with that because, listen, we all make mistakes. But in this case, I have not made a single mistake when it comes to Tim Walz. And I dare you to try to find the evidence otherwise. Well, that's the end of the show, everybody. Thank you so much. Please like, follow, subscribe, and share the show. Spread the word of World Ablaze. And I'll see you next time.
Tension, devils hide behind redemption. Honesty is a one-way gate to hell.
It's 1873, and two balloons race around the world. Oh, why did I bring so much? Oh, I'll never finish this race in 80 days.
Ahoy there!
Oh no, he's moving fast.
Don't be deflated. You send my bag to travel lighter next time.
A travel hack?
Yes!
That's not in the rule book. Sendmybag.com. Take the hassle out of travel. Terms and conditions apply. Oh, page 15. That's a letdown.